Hi, my name's Elliot and this is Breaking Into Film, the journey of me trying to break into the film industry. On this episode, we're going to be looking at video stabilization systems and why I picked the Glidecam. Let's see what happens. So I guess the question this week is, what is a stabilization system and why do I need one? Well, when you're using a camera, even when you're being really steady, there is still little bits of jitter when you're holding it. Now when you're taking a photo, that's no problem. But when you're doing video, it kind of really impacts the overall quality. Now, sometimes you do want that jitter when you're doing sort of really actiony scenes or when you're trying to do something like found footage, but overall you kind of want a really nice, smooth and kind of stable image. So that's why we need a stabilization system. Now, when I was looking at picking one up for myself, I had three main options. So I'm going to talk about each individual one and why I like them and dislike them and why I ended up with what I've got. So, what's the first one we're looking at today? That is the shoulder mount rig. Now, if you've seen any big production cameras, you normally see them kind of these big chunky things up on their shoulders. And they're kind of built to be sat on someone's shoulder. Whereas, with a DSLR or mirrorless camera like this one, you need to basically adapt it and find a rig that will make it work that way. So, what you can do is you can get a thing, there's multiple companies that do it, but the one I was personally looking at was Red Rock Micro, who used rails that mounted to the bottom of the camera, which had a little padded surface which sat on your shoulder. Now that gave you really stable footage because you had a contact point on your shoulder and one in each hand. Just like a tripod, you had 3 points of contact, which meant it was very smooth. Another bonus was you could move it around quite quickly, so if you were following action, you could turn, and it worked great. However, the downside is you're kind of stuck at however low you could go by crouching or by standing. So if you wanted to get a really nice low shot, like people like walking down a street with their feet, kind of a stylistic choice, you couldn't get that low. Now, that was really part of the reason why I didn't want it, because it was very cumbersome, quite big, and you couldn't get these really cool stylistic shots of from the ground shooting like across the landscape or, different aspects of footage. You kind of was stuck with just on your shoulder. So that's why I didn't pick it. Although they are quite cheap, because really they're just two pieces of metal and a small mount. So that's why I didn't go with the shoulder mount. The second one is a kind of a lot more fancy and a lot more newer one, which is called the gimbal. Now this uses typically up to three, if not more motors to stabilize the footage. So when you're using a camera, it can move this way or that way or this way. And so when it comes down to it, you want to be able to stabilize each of those axes of movement. So when you put a motor on each axis, it stays stable. Now it uses a lot of really cool computer algorithms and stuff like that to stabilize it and make sure it stays very still. But it also uses batteries, and that's one of the downfalls. You've got to keep these batteries charged up. Now, I think originally the Movi system was one of the kind of big ones that made a big impact and started this whole interest in gimbals. But people like DJI and a company that makes the crane, I've forgotten how to pronounce it, but a few companies are now doing it, and it's quite common, and they're quite cheap. However, when I was looking at a gimbal system back about 2 years ago, there was really only the DJI Ronin S, the DJI Ronin M, which was quite big and quite expensive. It was about $3,000. Now don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other brands which do a bit of a knockoff system, but I wanted something that was going to be good quality and which I can rely on. Now the great thing about the gimbal system is you can get low with them, you can hold them out a window, you can hold them sideways, and they just do their job. They're really great that way. However, as I said, they're quite expensive, although they are starting to come down in price now, and also they need batteries. And if I'm going to be running and gunning all day, I don't want to be having to carry 3 or 4 batteries for 3 different devices and making sure I keep them all charged. So that's the two main reasons why I didn't pick them. Although I'm actually now considering the Crane 2 because it is a very good system and it comes under $800 Australian, which is awesome. Which leads me to the third one, the third system which I ended up picking, which is called a Glidecam. Now, a Glidecam is a brand of stabilization systems which use basically an aspect of the lever system, or lever, depending on where you are. So you basically want to balance out the two sides of this system so that they remain equal weight. So you have your camera on the top and some weights on the bottom, and you hold it in the middle. So as you move around, it kind of wants to stay straight up and down and move around. Now the great thing about this system is you can get down low, you can go up high, and you can pan quickly like the shoulder rig system. So if you've got your subject over here, you can quickly snap over there very easily. And that was one of the downfalls of the gimbal system, is because it's electronic, if you do a quick pan, it's going to try to smooth that motion out and take a lot more time. Whereas with a stabilization system like the Glidecam, you can pan, tilt very quickly. The one issue with the Glidecam is it's quite heavy. You're using a lot of weight on just one hand because you have to hold it in one hand and let the other one just kind of guide it along. And the second problem with it is it takes a lot more training and skill to get used to it. Whereas a gimbal, you can basically just get up and go, and same with the shoulder rig, you can just go. Whereas with the Glidecam, you have to kind of practice a lot, and I'm still learning. As you'll see in a lot of the other videos that I've left at the end of the video of these videos, you'll see I'm a bit wobbly still, and I'm still learning, and it takes a long time. But once you get there, you can do some amazing footage, and Devon Supertramp was the one that really kind of made it popularized. And I have the Devon Graham signature series Glidecam. So it's an amazing system, and you can do amazing things with it when you have the skill. Now, the main reason why I picked it over something like a gimbal or a shoulder rig was it was kind of the best of both worlds. It didn't need batteries, I could do really cool artistic shots from low on the ground, high up, quick pans, but it didn't cost so much, and it also didn't need batteries. And all in all, it was a great option for me and what I wanted to do. Now, I'm still learning and I'm still growing with my skills as this whole show is about, and it's really great to kind of understand why I picked the system I did. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Now, there will be a dedicated video on the Glidecam and how I use it and me showing off me using it, but we're gonna leave that for another episode. This is kind of just talking about why I chose the Glidecam over other systems. Now, if you guys have any questions about my Glidecam or other things I didn't touch on properly about the different stabilization systems, please leave a comment down below. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next episode.